You're the kind of guy women settle for when they've run out of options. She sneered at me in front of everyone. So I let her walk away for someone better, only to watch him drop her life unravel, and her come crawling back while I moved on stronger than ever. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this. I always considered myself pretty average, not in a self-pitying way, just stable. I had a steady job, paid my bills on time, went to the gym a couple of times a week, and spent weekends with my girlfriend, Megan. We'd been together for almost 2 years. She was funny, outgoing, and always the center of attention when we were out with friends. I liked that about her, honestly. She had this energy that drew people in, and I was the quieter one who liked to observe. I thought we balanced each other out. From the start, I wanted to be a good partner. I'd drive her to work when her car broke down and cover her half of the rent when she had unexpected expenses. I cooked dinners, listened to her vent about her boss, and even canceled a trip with my buddies because she said she didn't want to spend a weekend without me. Looking back, I see how one-sided it was, but at the time, I thought that's what love was supposed to look like. You give, even when it's inconvenient. There were small comments, though, things I brushed off. Like when we'd run into her college friends and she'd introduce me with a laugh. "This is Daniel, my safe guy." I'd ask later what she meant, and she'd say, "Oh, don't be so sensitive. It's a joke. You're dependable, and that's a good thing." Or when I'd bring up the future, marriage, kids, buying a house someday, and she'd roll her eyes. "You sound like my dad. Can we just live in the moment?" Those comments stung, but I told myself actions were more important than words. She came home to me every night, right? She said she loved me. That had to count for something. One night, while we were watching Netflix, she casually dropped, "You know, sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if I'd dated guys who were a little more exciting." I paused the show. "What do you mean by exciting?" She shrugged, not even looking at me. "You know, guys who are spontaneous, who don't just work, cook, and go to the gym. Guys who live a little." I sat there for a second, trying to process it. "So you think I'm boring?" She finally looked at me, her face softening in mock sympathy. "Not boring, just predictable, which isn't a bad thing, it's just safe." I forced a laugh, pretending it didn't cut deep. "Well, I guess someone's got to make sure the bills get paid." She smirked and turned back to the TV. Exactly. That should have been a red flag, but instead, I told myself she didn't mean it the way it sounded. Megan had a sharp tongue, but she was still here. If she really thought I wasn't good enough, she'd leave, right? I doubled down on trying to prove I was worth it. Picked up extra shifts so we could afford a vacation she wanted. Bought her little surprises, her favorite coffee, flowers, concert tickets. I thought if I just showed her enough love, she'd see how serious I was. And for a while, things seemed fine. She'd kiss me goodbye in the mornings, text me memes during the day, fall asleep on my chest at night. I convinced myself that whatever doubts she had were just passing thoughts. But deep down, there was this unease I couldn't shake. The way she looked at certain guys when we were out. The dismissive way she talked about my career, as if it wasn't impressive enough. The way she lit up when someone else made her laugh, while I got the tired version of her at home. I didn't know it then, but all those little cracks were leading to the moment that would change everything. The moment she said words that would burn into my brain forever. Words that made me realize just how disposable she thought I was. The night it all went down started off like any other. One of Megan's friends was throwing a birthday party at a downtown bar, and she insisted we go. I'm not much of a nightlife guy. Crowded bars, overpriced drinks, shouting to be heard. It's never been my thing. But Megan loved it, and I wanted to make her happy. So I ironed a shirt, put on cologne, and drove us into the city. The second we walked in, she came alive. I watched her float through the room like she owned it, laughing, hugging, making everyone feel like they'd been waiting all night just for her to show up. I hung back, ordered us drinks, and did my usual, smiled, nodded, blended into the background. That's when I noticed him. Some guy, younger, maybe mid-20s, with a trendy haircut and a cocky grin. He gravitated to Megan instantly, and she let him. I tried to brush it off at first. She was always friendly with people. But as the night wore on, the friendly started to look a lot like flirting. I watched her laugh at his jokes like they were the funniest thing in the world. She touched his arm when she talked. At one point, he leaned in to whisper something in her ear, and instead of pulling away, she giggled. I sat there with a drink in my hand, heat rising in my chest. I wasn't the jealous type, but this wasn't harmless. This was blatant. When she finally came back to me, her cheeks flushed and her eyes bright, I tried to keep my voice even. Having fun. She smiled. Yeah, he's hilarious. You should talk to him. You'd like him. I bit back what I wanted to say. Instead, I waited until we were in the car on the way home. The silence was thick. She scrolled on her phone, humming to herself, like nothing was wrong. Finally, I asked, do you think it's okay to flirt with some random guy all night when your boyfriend's standing right there? She glanced up, eyebrows raised. Flirt? Seriously? I was just talking. Talking doesn't usually involve touching someone's arm every 5 seconds, I said, gripping the steering wheel tighter. She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. It was innocent. It didn't look innocent. That's when she sighed, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Daniel, you're reading too much into it. Not everything has to be a big deal. My jaw clenched. I just don't like being made to feel invisible. She turned to face me fully, and what she said next will stick with me for the rest of my life. With a smirk, she said, invisible? Please. You're fine. Look, you're the kind of guy women settle for when they've run out of options. You're dependable, you're safe, but you're not exciting. Guys like him, they're exciting. That's all it is. I felt the words like a punch in the gut. Settle for? She shrugged like it was nothing. I'm just being honest. Your husband material, one day maybe. But right now, I'm not ready to settle. I don't want to waste my best years playing house with someone predictable. The air in the car went dead quiet. I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh and say she didn't mean it. But she didn't. She just looked at me like she'd said something reasonable. For a moment, 100 things rushed through my head. Anger, humiliation, the urge to argue, to beg, to demand an apology. But instead, something inside me just shut off. I loosened my grip on the wheel and let out a breath. If that's how you see me, I said quietly, then I won't waste your time. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means you don't have to settle. Not with me. Her smirk faltered, but I didn't say another word the rest of the drive. When we got home, I grabbed a blanket and slept on the couch. She didn't bother coming out. That was the night everything changed. The night I realized the person I'd been giving everything to saw me as nothing more than a backup plan, a placeholder until something better came along. And I decided right then that I wouldn't play that role for anyone. The morning after the party, Megan acted like nothing had happened. She breezed into the kitchen in one of my t-shirts, scrolling on her phone with a cup of coffee in hand. Want eggs? She asked, like we hadn't had that conversation in the car. I looked up from the couch, bleary-eyed from barely sleeping. No thanks. She gave me a half shrug, unfazed. Suit yourself. That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just business as usual. Something in me hardened that morning. I realized I'd been waiting for her to realize what she had, to wake up and see I was the guy who stuck around when everyone else bailed. But she didn't care. She didn't see loyalty as valuable. She saw it as boring. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to argue or beg or try to prove her wrong. I was just done. Over the next week, I pulled back completely. I stopped texting her during the day, stopped cooking dinners. I started packing up little by little, my clothes, my books, my tools from the garage. I moved them to a buddy's place until I found something permanent. She didn't even notice at first. Or maybe she did and didn't care. She was always busy with friends after work or out late with people from her yoga class. She came home buzzing with energy, makeup smudged, smelling like someone else's cologne. I didn't ask. I didn't accuse. I just let her float further away. The night I finally left for good, she was out. I grabbed the last of my stuff, my laptop, my toothbrush, the blanket I'd been sleeping with on the couch, and slipped out the door. No note, no scene, just silence. I thought that would be the end of it. For a couple of weeks, I kept my head down, went to work, hit the gym, reconnected with old friends I'd neglected. The first nights alone were hard, I won't lie. My phone felt too quiet. My bed felt too big. But every time I thought about reaching out, I remembered her smirk in the car. You're the kind of guy women settle for when they've run out of options. That killed any urge I had. Meanwhile, Megan made sure I saw exactly what she was up to. She started posting pictures of herself with that guy from the party. His arm around her waist, his hand on her thigh, Captions like, living my best life, and finally someone who gets me. Mutual friends sent screenshots. A few even asked me, are you okay, man? I just told them the truth. Yeah, I'm fine. And I was. Because while she was busy broadcasting her upgrade to the world, I was rebuilding mine quietly. I picked up extra projects at work, which led to my boss offering me a lead role on a new client account. I started running again, something I hadn't done in years. I even signed up for a weekend woodworking class, just because it was something I'd always wanted to learn. I wasn't posting about it. I wasn't trying to make anyone jealous. I was just living. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt at peace. Then came the first crack in her perfect new life. A mutual friend, one who never took sides, mentioned casually that Megan's new guy wasn't showing up to events with her anymore. He's kind of a flake, she said. Always has a new girl on his arm. Megan looks stressed. I just nodded. Not my problem. But inside, I felt something shift. Not satisfaction exactly, just clarity. The truth was, I didn't need karma to come for her. She was her own karma. And sure enough, the next time I saw her, weeks later, she looked nothing like the glowing, carefree girl from those Instagram posts. Her smile was strained. Her eyes darted when she spotted me across the room at a mutual friend's barbecue. She looked like someone trying to hold a picture together after it had already cracked. I didn't approach her. I didn't say a word. I just kept laughing with my friends, flipping burgers, enjoying the night. That silence, I think, bothered her more than anything I could have said. It didn't take long for the facade to crumble. The guy she'd left me for, Mr. Trendy Haircut from the party, didn't last. Word spread fast through our mutual circle. He was seeing other girls the entire time. He'd never wanted anything serious. Megan had been just another weekend distraction. I found out through a coworker who'd also been at that party. Did you hear about Megan? She asked one morning, smirking. That guy ditched her. Apparently, he didn't even bother with a proper breakup, just stopped answering her texts. I just nodded, not surprised. Inside, I felt nothing. Not joy, not pity. Just confirmation of what I already knew. She'd gambled on someone who looked exciting and ended up losing everything she thought she'd gained. That same week, her Instagram feed went suspiciously quiet. The couple's selfies disappeared. The vague captions about living her best life stopped. Instead, she started posting selfies with captions like, working on me, and new beginnings. Classic code for everything just fell apart. I kept scrolling. Then the messages started. First, a casual text out of the blue. Megan, hey stranger. How have you been? I stared at the screen for a second, then locked my phone. No reply. 2 days later, Megan, I miss talking to you. Can we meet for coffee sometime? Again, silence from me. That's when the calls started. I ignored the first one, then the second. By the third, I finally answered, just to see what she'd say. Her voice was soft, almost rehearsed. Daniel, I know I said some things I shouldn't have. I was scared. I felt like I was settling down too soon, and I panicked. But I see now that you're the one who really cared about me. Can we at least talk? I kept my tone flat. There's nothing to talk about. Come on, she pressed. Don't be like that. I made a mistake, okay? Everyone makes mistakes. But you're the one who always believed in me. You're the only one who actually sees me. For a moment, I almost laughed. Sees me. The irony of that line from the woman who had told me to my face I was the kind of guy women only settle for. Instead, I said, you made yourself pretty clear, Megan. Her voice grew sharper, defensive. So that's it. You're just going to throw away 2 years. I didn't raise my voice. You already did that for us. Click. I ended the call. From then on, her attempts grew more frantic. Mutual friends started mentioning her name in conversations again, clearly sent as messengers. Megan asked if you'd be open to talking. She said she regrets how she acted. I'd shake my head every time. I'm not interested. One even tried guilt-tripping me. She's going through a lot right now. It wouldn't hurt you to at least hear her out. Yes, it would, I said simply. So no. That's when the shift happened. She went from apologetic to angry. Another text popped up one night. Megan, wow. So you're just going to act like you're too good for me now? After everything I gave you? I stared at that one for a long time. The audacity of it. As if she hadn't been the one to humiliate me. As if I owed her closure after what she said. I didn't reply. And that silence, once again, said more than words ever could. Meanwhile, my own life kept moving forward. Work was better than ever. I had money saved up. I was back into running shape. People noticed the difference in me. Calmer, sharper, more focused. Megan, on the other hand, was spiraling. The last I heard, the guy she'd flaunted me for had actually started dating someone else in our circle, and Megan had been crying to anyone who would listen about being betrayed. The irony was almost too rich. She'd once told me I was the man women settle for. Now she was the one everyone avoided, desperate, humiliated, and alone. And she hadn't even hit bottom yet. I thought ignoring her would be enough. But Megan wasn't the type to give up when she wanted something, even if that something was only about repairing her pride. One Friday night, a few weeks after our last phone call, I heard a knock at my apartment door. When I opened it, there she was. She looked nothing like the girl who had strutted into that party with all the confidence in the world. Her makeup was smudged, her hair was messy, and her eyes were red like she hadn't slept in days. "Daniel," she said softly, like saying my name might unlock some hidden sympathy. "Please, just let me in so we can talk." I didn't move from the doorway. "There's nothing to talk about." Her lip trembled. "Don't do this. Don't act like I didn't mean anything to you. We were together for 2 years. You can't just erase me like that." I kept my voice steady. "You erased yourself when you decided I wasn't enough. Remember? I'm the guy women settle for." She winced like I'd slapped her. "I didn't mean it like that. I was drunk. I was stupid. You meant every word." I cut her off. "That's why it came out so easily." She stepped closer, her hands clasped together like she was praying. "I didn't know what I had until I lost it. Please, Daniel, I'll do anything. I'll prove to you I've changed." That was the moment I realized she didn't want me back. She wanted the safety net I'd always been. She wanted the stability, the comfort, the man who believed in her when no one else did. But she'd burned that bridge the second she humiliated me. I shook my head. "Megan, this isn't about whether you've changed. It's about respect. And once you told me I was someone you'd only settle for, there was no coming back from that. You don't get to rewrite the story now just because your gamble didn't pay off." Her desperation started curdling into anger again. Her voice rose. "So that's it. You think you're too good for me now? You think some other woman's going to treat you better? No one will care about you the way I did." I almost laughed. "You didn't care about me. You cared about what I could provide for you. Big difference." She stared at me, breathing hard, tears mixing with rage. For a second, I thought she might slap me. Instead, she let out a bitter laugh. "You're going to regret this," she said, voice cracking. "You're going to wake up one day and realize you pushed away the best thing you ever had." I met her eyes without flinching. "No, Megan. I woke up the day you told me exactly what you thought of me. And that's when I realized losing you was the best thing that could have happened." Silence. Her face twisted, like the words physically hurt. She muttered something under her breath, then turned and stormed down the hallway. I shut the door, locked it, and just stood there for a moment, letting the quiet settle back in. And for the first time since that night at the party, I felt completely free. There was no anger left, no lingering heartbreak, just relief. Megan had once tried to define me as the guy women settle for. But the truth was, she had settled for temporary thrills, shallow validation, and cheap excitement. And in the end, it left her with nothing. Me? I had my peace, my dignity, and the future wide open. And that was worth more than anything she could ever offer. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.